Hi guys, SW Miron here. Happy to report I am back to full health. So thank you for the well wishes, and I'm feeling much better. I am actually making this video on what is Friday, but by the time you guys see it, it will have been like last Friday. And I'm doing so because one, I don't want to leave you hanging, and two, I am going away on a vacation. So I'm not going to be able to make a video where I'm going. I don't know if I'm going to have great cell service. I don't know the deal. So, like I said, I just was feeling anxious that I would not be able to get to you guys. But that's actually where I'm going today with this conversation, is talking all about anxiety and talking about kind of like the pros and cons of it, because I think that a lot of people, when they think of anxiety, they think of the negative and, just all the shit that can go wrong in your head when you're taking time to worry and panic and make lists in your sleep and, perseverate on the same thing for like years on end at bedtime, or, years on end, every morning when you get up. Like, it's just, yeah, it sucks, frankly, but you could either like learn to live with it and make the best of what you have, or you can be fucking miserable and super anxious. And I am so, so sorry if you do not want to seek some way to alleviate that in some way. But, you know, I think you got to make the best of what's around. And that's really a big piece of the puzzle of being able to cope with living with mental illness, is understanding that, that radical acceptance piece. Like, this isn't okay. I don't like this. I'm not happy about this. This is horrible. I'm terrible. Like, I'm terribly upset that this is happening to me, but I cannot change it. So I have nothing that I can do except for radically accept that I have anxiety, right? So, all right, I'm going to grab a seat. I'm going to take y'all with me, hopefully. Ooh, sorry, hope I didn't make you nauseous. Okay, so the way that I got thinking about wanting to talk about anxiety is as I was starting to pack for this vacation. So I am somebody that is very type A, very organized, very like calculated, planned out, well thought out. Like, I really think things through. I'm not like super impulsive. I am in some contexts, but not usually. Anyway, I was thinking about, I made a giant list of all the shit that I wanted to bring with me on vacation, because I come to find that, like, in the past, way before I used to take a bunch of medication that really started to affect my memory, I have some significant memory loss issues. So, like, there are times that I'm in the middle of a sentence that I started the conversation, I started the topic, and then someone says something back, and I have no idea what I was even talking about. It's actually kind of scary. I hate it, but I don't know. I wish somebody told me when I was 15 that if you took this for 20 years, you would be hurting your memory, and you would be potentially, the other factor is like that pill will eventually hurt my vision and I won't be able to see at some point someday. So, not not great circumstances surrounding that, but the bottom line is I needed, like, my central nervous system physically needed that, I guess, chemical, that substance to hit my brain and take it. And, like, I don't know, the way I imagine it is like my brain is just sitting up here and it's just always kind of like this. Like, it's always like shaking. It's always nervous. It's always anticipating like the next shoe to drop, the next awful thing to happen, or planning out every different scenario of a situation that could go wrong in advance, because that it makes it easier to cope with than if you just let things roll and then, oh man, you're faced with things going away you didn't plan on. Anyway, so I start making a list these days, but it takes me across a few days because of my memory loss. Like, I can't like I used to, maybe 10, 15 years ago now. I used to be able to sit down, make a list of every single thing that I would want or need for my vacation. And I was confident in that list that I had everything I needed. And I didn't ever once get to a trip and be like, oh crap, I didn't bring XYZ. So across this past week, so Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I spent making the list. And each day I was like thinking about it, but going back to my notes. I had physical notes because Lord knows I would forget if I didn't write it down. But I carried that notebook with me all week. And there were things that kept popping into my brain, like after I thought the list was complete, the list was complete. And I'm just so glad that I know myself enough to know that I need a few days to work it out to make sure I really think through everything that I would want or need, and, be able to trust in myself that I have everything and I'm, good to go, so that I'm not feeling super anxious, like going on a vacation where you're supposed to feel relaxed and enjoy the time and, not spend it having a, tug of war in your head all the time. But that's my reality. So I am now in the phases of taking that list and crossing off each item individually as they go into the suitcase or as they go into the duffel bag. Um, Doing things like that, like making a list and being able to check it off, I find, at least from my experience, and I've had anxiety my whole life, like from the time I was in like second grade. That was one of the first like things that really showed up in my life, mental illness wise, was back in like second or third grade. I was like having some really significant, I'd say like trouble with emotionally regulating, and I would be so hyper focused on perfection. And if I got a 99 on my math quiz instead of 100, I would like cry, not like tantrum, but I would cry like as if my mom died. Like it was the end of the world. I literally was like inconsolable. I remember vividly, and shit, I can't remember what I said 10 minutes ago, but I can remember sitting in Mrs. K's class and that day happening, me getting my quiz back, me immediately being triggered because that type A piece of me was there, like bred into who I am as a human. Like it's not something I picked up along the way. It's something that just came with me from like the very beginning of time, before there was trauma, before there was these other complicated factors that really took me on a highway like this. But, you know, learning that you can use tools like a checklist, and something that you can physically cross off, that can like help just put your mind at ease, because the things you keep going back to worrying about or being like, oh crap, did I remember to put, toothbrush and toothpaste on the list? I genuinely wouldn't have remembered if I wrote it down or not. So open up the notebook, right? I mean, I don't know. I'm not talking about rocket science here, people. This is this is just a regular, plain old tip from my everyday life of something that helps me with my anxiety. Now, I got to talk about more of like strategies for what I'm going to do when I go on this trip to cope with my anxiety, because the reality is I am going to feel extremely anxious the entire time. I'm going to a place I've never been. I'm going on a trip with, yes, they're members of my husband's family and they're now like my family, but we haven't, I haven't been on vacation with some of these people. It's a different type of vacation than the kind I've ever really gone on, except for when I was like really, really, really young. I used to go on trips to Maine and go to the ocean with my mom and my aunt and grandma. Those are the days. But we're going to Rhode Island and it's a beach trip, and I have some like sensory issues with sand. I don't love sand like in my feet. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit challenging, but I like a challenge. So, game on. I know that I'm going to need to have some ways for me to escape already planned out in order for me. Like if you pre-plan your exit strategy so that you already have a plan for like if somehow some way there's a disagreement that happens and it gets kind of heated or people are getting upset, like I'm going to need a way to have the ability to cope with that. And if I didn't like pre-plan like I do, I don't know what would happen. I think actually I would lose control of my emotions and I'd probably say some really bad stuff that I would never really mean or want to say to the person. So that's why it's really important for people like me to take the time and make a plan and have these strategies and take the time intentionally to bring your mind back to thinking about these things, because just because you start doing them and they become a habit, things like self-talk, things like journaling, things like mindfulness, right? But they can become second nature. But if you just don't actually make the conscious effort to go back and intentionally think about this again, intentionally go over this again and again and again, the more that you do, the better off you're going to be, because then you're going to have what you feel like you're going to feel armed. You're going to feel like you have weaponry to, fight off the demons in your head. So here's my exit strategies. One, my therapist always hits me with this one. She's like, it's not running away, it's taking a break. So if there was ever a time that my emotions got really, really intense, or I got really, really anxious, and I got, when I get really anxious, sometimes I feel nauseous, or like I shake, like this is just me, like at baseline. So, that's what I got. But so I know I can always like excuse myself and like go to the bathroom or take a walk on the beach, or, take a break, go into like the bedroom that I'll be staying in and take a few minutes to myself. I can do any of those things at any time. It's not going to stand out as if I'm doing something weird or wrong or anything like that. No one's going to pick up on the fact that my anxiety is spiking and I need this break. It's a discreet way to be able to take care of that anxiety. Another thing that I'm thinking about is I have to really be careful. I'm a little bit, I don't know, in contexts where I need to be very professional, I have the capacity to do so, no doubt. But like me as just like my true authentic self, I believe I'm one of one. I'm a very odd duck. I'm a rare individual. There's nobody quite like me. And I think that's true for all of us, actually. But it's, yeah, you gotta really hammer in your head those strategies of like self-talk. I'm bringing with me a book as a method of escape as well. I actually want to give a shout out to my boy, Grady Morris. This is his brand new book that just came out, Life Plus 16 Years, a true story of consequences, redemption, and coming home. It's super cool. I met Grady. Actually, he reached out to me because he was an author working with the same publishing company. He saw a video ad that I did for the company, and that's how he knew how to get a hold of me, because it tagged me in it on Facebook. So he clicked on that, reached right out to me. He's from I think, I didn't read it yet, but I'm pretty sure, yes, Tennessee. He's from Tennessee. I'm from New York. I'm a total stranger at the time, and he reached out to me and he asked me for some pointers, some tips, some guidance, because I had already been farther along in the process and he was kind of at the beginning. And I'm an open book. I say it all the time. This is a total stranger contacting me, asking me if we can talk on the phone for a half hour. And I'm like, sure, let's do it, So I've made this kind of cool friendship with this person I've never met in person. I've talked to him on the phone before. We've texted a bunch, we've emailed, things like that. But I'm super excited that his book finally came out, and this is going to be like a big, like, oh, I'm so excited to read this on vacation, because I can always get lost in a good book. And I know that probably comes off a little bit corny because I'm an author. So I feel like that's like what you would expect an author to say, right? Like, oh, you should go read a book. But in this situation, like, even if I like was really overcome with emotion, and say like that pendulum of like angry to sad is like swinging uncontrollably, and I just feel like I'm going to like lose it, even if you're not able to like actually like read and comprehend, guess what? If you do this and you sit like this while you're at the beach quietly, and you look like you're reading, slowly pace it out so it looks like you're reading, and boom, like another way, like you don't even actually have to be reading the book. It's just another vessel, another tool to help give you an out if you need it. There's nothing wrong with needing to do what you need to do to take care of yourself, so long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. And honestly, the biggest reason why I take the time to overthink and plan out like I do is because I want to be preventative about, trying to control I can't control like all these variables around me in day-to-day life. None of us can. But what I can control is myself and what I can do to cope with what's going on in here and in here. So I know myself. I know I'm easily triggered. I know certain times people say things that just really ring my bell, and it just I kind of a girl in the hospital that she called it popping off. She's like, you kind of pop off when you're upset. So the goal is to have none of those type of situations. And to have none of those situations, I have to be aware. I have to be present and really in the present moment, paying attention to what I'm thinking, catching myself if I'm finding I'm in a loop of thinking and stressing and perseverating and worrying about the same thing. Even if it's something that I know like isn't something really to worry about. If my brain is worrying about it, I can't make it stop necessarily. I can try, but sometimes it just is there. So I'm not going to let it bring me down. I'm not going to let it hold me back from having a great time. I'm sure we're going to have an awesome trip. And I'm really excited to be able to report back when I get back for the next episode. I'll be back in town, and I'll be able to touch base about how successfully I pulled off these different coping strategies and escape routes, to helping me plan to have the best vacation possible. So those are just some tips for anxiety stuff. Very just practical, regular, everyday stuff. Like, I'm not really trying to like teach stuff to people that is anything that's over anybody's head. Like, everything that I feel like I talk about with you guys, I try really hard to make it just like very real, very realistic, and like practical for using it. Like, there's certain strategies that I've learned across my mental health treatment that are highly effective, but they're not things you can just like do at the drop of a hat, you know? So you have to learn to rely on what works for you, and you have to stick with it. And then you'll have the best quality of life you can possibly have. And that's all I can ask for. So, with that, oh man, longest episode yet. Sorry, 19 whole minutes. I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you have an awesome week. I challenge you to think about something you can do sometime this week when you're in a situation, when you feel anxious, and it's so like not necessarily intense, but it's so significant that you notice it. There's a physical feeling in your body of nervousness or anxiousness, right? When that happens to you, if that happens to you, probably will, it happens to most of us. I want you to try to do something. It doesn't even have to be any of the things that I've said. Try something that seems like it'll be a good idea to work for you. And I would love if anybody gave me feedback by letting me know if it helped, if it didn't. I'm so, so, so thankful for all of you guys that have been following along. Thank you so much to all the subscribers. If you are new and this was the first video you came across, I promise you that I have much more informational videos. This was more of a kind of freestyle one because I'm literally leaving for vacation in like minutes. But yeah, I really would love to hear that feedback. And there's 38 subscribers to my channel right now. Once I get to 50, I can do this live. And then I will be able to have like live interactive feedback with people that are watching. And I want that more than anything. I want it to be a real reciprocal conversation. I don't love that I have a full conversation with myself recorded on a video and then like hand it out to you. But that's the best I can do for now because, well, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, right? All right. Well, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Don't let that anxiety trap you. Don't let it bring you down. And make the best of what's around. Bye, guys. Have a good one.